Hello everybody, my name is Andy and welcome to Coding Swiftly. In this channel, we like to take you through the methodologies, the tools, the software, everything that has to do with iOS development as we code our projects. On this playlist, we're going to be creating a mood tracker MVP. MVP stands for Minimal Viable Product. As an iOS developer, I come across MVPs all the time. We use MVPs to create some kind of prototype so that we can test the simplest form of an idea in testing to make sure that it works before we spend a lot of time, effort, and money on it. And that's what we're going to be going through today is a mood tracker MVP. Other things you'll hopefully learn along the way are source control, what agile means, how to look at stories, how to read acceptance criteria, and some other tips and tricks. All right, so let's dive right in. The first thing that you're going to want is a GitHub account. Hopefully you have a GitHub account just from being in school or whatever you're doing. But if you haven't come across GitHub yet, then go ahead and create one. It's going to help you get a job. It's going to help you save your projects in an easy to find place. Or if you have something like GitHub, go ahead and use that. So you've created your GitHub account. And if you haven't, pause, create it, come back. The next thing you're going to want is Git. Git is source control. It's a form of source control. There are other source control things out there, but the standard in the industry is to use Git. So in terminal, you want to type in Git and enter. And if you don't see a help menu, then you're going to want to install Git. One way to do that is to go to this URL, tap macOS, download it, restart your computer, and then you should be good to go. All right, so you got Git, you got GitHub. Very next thing is to create a repo. A repo is like a folder, basically, that's stored either on your local computer or on a server somewhere. And what we want to do is to keep those two folders in sync. So any change that we make on our local computer, at the end of the day, or after we complete like a feature or fix a bug or something, after we complete something and we want to save it, then we want to push that, which means to just sync up what's on your local computer to what's remote on some server somewhere. All right, so we want to click repository, we want to click new, and this is going to be mood tracker MVP. You can add a description if you want. This is mostly to help yourself remember what you've created here. I'm just going to say, no, I'm not going to add one. I want to make it public. I want anybody to be able to see the code that I'm writing here. And we're going to talk about READMEs a little bit later, but right now we're not going to add a README. This just helps anybody that's looking at your repo through GitHub to know how to install it, how to run it, what it's about, why'd you make it. Like, it just helps the reader know more about what the repository is supposed to do and how it works. I'm not going to add a git ignore. Maybe I should, but I'm not going to. This basically tells Git what files you don't want it to track. Things like this would be like settings on Xcode, or like maybe you have a file that saves like secret passcodes. Like, those are things that you might want to add to your git ignore file. But for the purposes of this playlist, let's just ignore this. And you want to choose a license. I don't want to go too into depth about what the different licenses do, but an MIT license just allows anybody to basically do whatever they want with the code that I wrote. But if you actually want to sell this thing, or I don't know, do you want to make money off of it, you want to make it private, then take a closer look at what these licenses do. Anyway, creating this repository. Cool. So now you have a repo. You've created a folder somewhere on GitHub's server, and it is currently empty. And we want to make a copy of that on our local computer. The way that we do that is by cloning it. And I'm going to clone using HTTPS. There are other ways to do this. If you want to get into another way of cloning, by all means, go ahead. But here I'm just going to use HTTPS. I'm going to copy this URL, and I'm going to open up terminal again. The first thing you want to do is to put yourself where you want to copy that folder to. if you print your working directory, pwd, and enter, it's going to show you the root of your computer. And I want to actually put this somewhere a little bit more accessible. So I'm going to cd, which is change directory, and I just want to move myself somewhere that is more accessible. So I want to move myself maybe to my desktop. It's just easier to find and access things. If you're more organized than I am, go ahead and cd into a different folder that makes more sense to you. If you don't know what the path is to the folder that you want to put it into, you can actually just drag and drop. You can drag and drop folders, and you can find out where something is. For example, let me go back. So cd and then ... is going to bring you back a step. And if you see me clearing out my terminal, I'm doing a Command C that clears out your terminal. If you drag and drop something like this, so this is my circle PNG that I use as a mask for my webcam, it's going to show you the path, and you can cd right into that path if you wanted to. Okay, so now that we are where we want to be, we can actually clone our repo. So the way that you're going to clone is typing in git clone and then pasting the URL that you've just copied from GitHub. You're going to type in enter, and it's going to clone the repo for you. Now that we've cloned the repo, we want to move into that repo. So I'm going to cd, and I'm going to type in the name of the repo, which is Moontracker MVP. If you called it something else, go ahead and cd to whatever you called it. And there we go. And we're going to work with this a little bit later. So let's minimize this. The next step is to open up Xcode. If you open up Xcode and you haven't worked with it before, then you're not going to see anything here. If you don't know what Xcode is, then this tutorial might be a little advanced for you. I'm assuming, like I've said in the description and in the beginning, I'm assuming that you know Swift. You've probably taken a class in Swift. Maybe you've already created some beginner projects. This is for anybody who wants to take their beginner skills to the next level. Okay, so you've got Xcode installed. I'm working with version 16.2, which is the latest today, and it's December 20th, 2024. I'm going to create a new project. I want to make sure that I have iOS selected and app. Keeping it simple, iOS app. Let's open it. You want to select your team. So I want my personal team, and what I want to call this product is Mood Tracker. And for your organization identifier, you're going to want your email address just backwards, and then it's going to append the product name there. Our interface is SwiftUI, our language is Swift. I'm going to say no testing system for now. If we do get to some of our stretch goals of testing, then we'll need that. We're definitely going to need some storage in the future, but for now, I'm just going to type none to keep our base as simple as possible. Then I'm going to click next. And where you want to put this is actually inside of that folder that you just cloned. So it says Mood Tracker MVP. This is the location of where I just cloned my folder. It's not any new folder or anything. It's the one that I just made. You don't want to create Git repository on my Mac because we've already done that. It should already be initialized. And then we want to create. And it's going to create a new folder right inside of the repo. Cool. After that's all done, then you should see that we do have a target already. This target is Mood Tracker, and the simulator that it's going to run on is the iPhone 16 Pro. On the right here is what it is the canvas. It's showing you what is going on the left here. And we can update this in real time. So hello, coding swiftly. And it updates it in real time, which is cool. We can also run the app. This might take a while to load up if it's the first time that you're loading the simulator. Don't worry. That's normal. You might see a blank screen at first, but it should shortly load in. All right, so now that it's loaded, we know that we have a good base to work off of. So I'm going to go ahead and stop that. I'm going to delete this old one that I was working with. The very last thing I wanted to do in this video is to push my changes. So right now we can see that this folder is empty. There's nothing here, but we've made some changes in our folder. So if I do ls, it's going to list anything that's inside of this folder. So we have our license and we have our mood tracker. Our license is what we created in GitHub, but this mood tracker folder is what we just created in Xcode. We're going to see some changes if we do a git status. Git status will tell you anything that is changed, that is different than what is in our remote, which is our GitHub folder. We see a few things here. I'm just going to go ahead and add all of this. This might be something that you don't want to commit, but it's really not the end of the world if you do commit it. It's just some like interface changes for Xcode, but that's fine. I'm just going to go ahead and do a git add all. So git add dot is going to just add everything. And if I do a git status again, I should see that everything is now green, which means that everything is staged, which means that everything is going to be included if I do a git commit. Anything that's red and I do a git commit command means that these will not get included in my like save file. That's basically what we're doing right now, is we're creating a save file that we're going to push up to GitHub. So git commit is going to make that file, or however you want to think about it. -m stands for message. So I want to add a message that's going to help myself know what is inside of the save file. What am I saving here? In case that if I ever want to go back to this point in time, I'm going to say that this is my initial Xcode changes and enter. All I've done at this point is created that save file. It's saved everything, but it's still not up to date with what's on GitHub. If I refresh this, nothing's happened because all the changes I made are on my local machine. Now I want to push it. Now I want to send it off to GitHub. And how we do that is by doing git push. If you type in git push, you might see an authentication. So what you might see is it's asking you for your username and password. I've already entered my username and password, so I don't see that. So when I do a git push, it's automatically logged me in. I'm already logged in, and it's made those changes for me. If you see it asking you to log in, this is what you want to do. You want to enter in your name, your GitHub name, which is going to be whatever you see here. That's going to be your username. So type in your username, enter. For your password, though, your password is not going to be the password you use to log into GitHub. What you're actually going to use is something called a personal access token. How we're going to get there is going to settings, going to scroll down and go into developer settings. And then under personal access tokens, you want to type in tokens classic. You're probably not going to see anything here. So what you want to do is generate a new token. You want to generate a new token and you want to check off certain boxes. One of them is going to be for your repo. You want to be able to push and pull and all of the repo settings. Go ahead and tick that check mark and then click save. Once you have your token, then you want to go back to your terminal and paste it in and then continue on. And that's the end of our first video. We've done a lot. So we've created a repository, a place to save our changes. We've created a new Xcode project, and we're all set up to move along and start making our mood tracker app. I hope you had fun, and I will see you in our next video.